Oh my God, I hate my job. It sucks the life out of me. It doesn't even really pay enough. And I don't think I have any kind of marketable skills. And I'm, 56 years old. Now what? Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? And yeah, now what? Just like they say before Cracker Man on STP's Core album, before that great hit. And yeah, great song. But this video is not about that. Everything I said in the intro of this video is true. I have this job right now. And while it has some benefits, it's a 9-to-5 job, which allows me to pursue music afterwards and gives me a social life and a life with my girlfriend and all that kind of stuff, and able to see kids and grandkids, all that sort of stuff. And it comes with a company car. It's like a $20,000 perk. Even so, it doesn't pay enough. I can pay my bills, but I'm just getting behind slowly but surely. I can realize that, if I just made a little bit more, that would give me some more breathing room. And it just also sucks the life out of me. It's not something that I like to do. It's not something I'm interested in. It's sort of like, takes all the joy out of life. And it's not a terrible job. It's just not me. It's not a good fit. And I'm going to be 57 years old in April. Can you believe that? This is January 2025. I don't look anywhere near that old. Certainly don't look 56. How could I be 57 soon? So what do I do now? Well, it's story time. So pull up a chair, grab a cup of hot cocoa. Who doesn't love story time? And if you don't, what are you doing listening to this channel anyway? Go watch something else. So if you're still with me, I didn't get a heck of a lot of guidance in school. I can't recall getting FaceTime with a guidance counselor, ever, as far as I can remember. Both of my parents went to college, however, the gigs that they had lifelong were really based on trade school. My dad also went to culinary school. He was a chef for his whole life. My mom, later on in life, in her 40s, or late 30s, early 40s, everybody seems old when you're a kid. She ended up going back to tech school, got some kind of tech degree, and ended up becoming a technician for a large technology firm. And that's what she did. So they didn't really use those college degrees. I didn't get a lot of guidance from them at all. They were pretty much busy doing their own thing. So, while they raised us and made sure that we got fed, they didn't really do a heck of a lot of guidance for my brother and I. So what did I do? When I was 15, my dad said, hey, I can get you a job here where I'm working. And so I worked in the restaurant industry for about 3 years. I did not love it. Some people have it in their blood and they love it. It wasn't me. For the most part, I was a food service utensil recycling engineer. I did some other jobs in there, but it just wasn't really me. And so I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. I graduated high school, and I got incredibly lucky. A friend of mine had a job with the state in human services, dealing with people with developmental disabilities. They were hiring then. Brief windows of time, they hired. And so at 18 years old, 2 months out of high school, I got this job that I thought I was going to have forever. And, it was a cool job. It was interesting. It was, I wasn't super passionate about it, but I was good at it. And I did a lot of direct care, direct services with people. I used to joke around with people and say this is the highest paying dead-end job you'll ever get. And in fact, being a state employee, very often we were insulated from things like recessions. I just didn't realize these things were happening. And partly that was because, once again, I was in human services, so you couldn't just stop services to people if the economy was bad. And also, I got paid a good deal of money. And I knew that because I worked private sector jobs as well to get a little extra money. And I knew the income disparity based on that. And this video is not a commentary on that. But that's something I did for 18 and a half years. And I finally lost that job as an indirect result of my issues with addiction at that time, which I've talked about in another video. And I also got railroaded. And this isn't just me saying and playing the violins. I certainly was at fault for a lot of things in my life. However, a lot of other people looked at the situation. I got railroaded, and there are things I probably should have done. I can't work in that field now, and I could pay a lawyer an awful lot of money to get back into that field, but it's not a sure thing. It was 20 years ago. And it's not, I'm not really sure that I'd want to go back into that field. But, it would be a gamble either way. But it was something that, I was good at, that I thought I was going to have forever. So now I was like, okay, what do I do now? For a brief period of time during that state service, I went into the psych department, mostly because, in fact, entirely because my first wife didn't want to be married to a direct care worker. She wanted more status, so she wanted me to be in the psych department. I did not enjoy it as much, mostly because I didn't have the direct impact that I had, as a direct care worker and being able to interface with people on a one-to-one basis, which I preferred. Anyhow, well, now what do I do? So I got a bunch of jobs in the interim. I think I worked for my buddy's car wash for a moment. You got a bus, job working, driving a school bus, believe it or not. Got a CDL, did that, did a lot of charter trips. Was not super excited about that job. It wasn't my thing. Ended up getting a job at a tree company. Once again, how do I get a job at a tree company? Well, I got it because I got, married again, and my brother-in-law, well, he worked there, got me a job there. And it was something that was kind of interesting, but I did not particularly enjoy it, and a lot of it for some integrity reasons. Like I enjoyed the science part of it, but it was about selling. I wasn't selling, but it was about making money. And that was the prime driver. However, that's not why I got rid of that job. I got rid of that job because I got hurt on it. And so I was out of work for a while. Finally, I cleaned up, I've been happily in recovery for 12 and a half years, and things are great. I started to get some other jobs. And, what do I do now? I burned my life down to the ground. And so I got a job at Walmart. And I worked there for 4.5 years and learned all about retail and why I don't particularly like it or enjoy it at all, and about how ugly the corporate structure can be in something like that. I ended up getting a job at an infusion pharmacy. And that was kind of an interesting job, just working in the warehouse. I had more of a direct impact on people's lives. It once again did not pay great. Oh, by the way, Walmart did not pay well at all. Did not pay fantastic, but it paid the bills. I was got together with my girlfriend Megan at the time. We were doing okay. 2 incomes. She got a house, which I still live in now, and that I own now. Doing okay. Not fantastic, but it was a 2-income household. After she passed away in 2020, I was really, really fortunate. And some of you may remember we had a fundraiser in a lot of different arenas. I think I got some money from some people here. I just mentioned it. But people were incredibly generous while she went through lung cancer. And so I was able to leave my job when it moved. I got I think a severance, which was very, very nominal. But I stayed home with her for the last 6 months of her life in 2020, took care of her. And then for a few months afterwards, got the affairs in order and started searching for jobs, which is a pain. You put out 1 million applications. A lot of you know this. You never get to talk to a person. You have to repeat the same thing over and over again and answer the same questions that you just uploaded on your resume, all that sort of stuff, and got a few calls, couple calls back, and one of which was for the company that I work for now, which is a company it's an industrial supply company. Mostly what we do, we supply like machinery and machining tooling to companies and machine shops, very big machine shops and little machine shops. And I go in and I fill these vending machines up and do inventory. It's something I knew nothing about, and I still don't know, half of like how all this stuff works. I just do the inventory type stuff. It's a kind of an interesting, it's a funny job in that, to a large degree, I'm like a Coca-Cola or Frito-Lay merchandiser. What the heck do I mean? Well, I learned in retail that, when you see people that come into merchandise Frito-Lay or Coca-Cola, you go into your grocery store, these aren't the store employees, these are merchandisers. They set all this stuff up, they stock it. They didn't bring it there for the most part. Another truck dropped this stuff off in the back room. That's what happens in my job. So I go just put this stuff in there. My boss does not like it when I describe the job that way. But it's a job that I do not like. I don't enjoy it. It doesn't do it for me. And once again, it's a corporate environment, which I'll talk about, I think, in another video, why that just does not necessarily go well with me and my personality type and all that sort of stuff. So what do I do now? And I think a lot of us find ourselves in positions like this. What do I do now? I really hate this. I don't, I'm not without a job. I'm very thankful to have it. And there's all kinds of psych tests I can take to figure what would be the ideal career or job or thing for me to do. And it's funny, very often people ask me, well, what do you want to do? What would you like to do for work? I've been asked this a lot. And very often I freeze up, and part of that is for psychological reasons. But it dawned on me the other day. There's another reason that I can't think of it. Because the answer is nothing. When I had that time at home with Megan, and right afterwards, I realized that I enjoyed being home, doing whatever the heck I wanted to do, doing my little projects, pursuing passions, all that kind of stuff. There aren't a lot of things that I get incredibly passionate about. That's what I want to do from 9 to 5. And that's what I want to do and devote all my time to the point where it is a job. So, for me, part of the search now is what can I do that doesn't feel like actual work? You know, can I make a career in music? Well, I'm not really sure. That's a very, very difficult thing to do. And yes, I have a hobby that does pay for itself. I still owe some money on some of my toys, but, I make enough money doing that, I at least break even, if not better, playing music. And I've been very fortunate to get back into that and do that a lot. But that's a different thing. Do I just all of a sudden have a YouTube channel that, pays me lots of money? Well, I need a lot more subscribers and I need a lot more views. And what would I talk about? I certainly don't want to do anything where I start to create content or do things in a creative manner because for marketing reasons. There's an integrity bell or buzzer that goes off in my head where, I just don't want to do that sort of things because it feels sort of yucky. It's the reason I'd never be good in sales, or one of the reasons I'd never be good in sales. I have to believe in what I'm doing. I don't want to just create content or do something creative because I think this will sell. That's not really it. Although, I will tell you very often, it's very enjoyable to play music that the audience is enjoying right then, even if it's not my favorite. And that's not necessarily being a sellout. It's, yes, I can make more money doing that, but I actually enjoy it because the people are digging it. I like things that have direct impact. So what do I do now? Maybe you have an idea of what I do now. And, how much money do I really want to make? What would be enough? Well, right now I can tell you that I'm in debt, and I do not like that. And part of that is because I made some decisions to buy some things, but they are paying for themselves. Part of it is because that I have a single income now. And, over time, that's taken its toll. Partly is because things have gotten a lot more expensive. And we don't need to go down that rabbit hole in this video. But the cost of living has increased dramatically and exponentially. And I'm so happy I own this house, meaning the bank owns it and I pay a mortgage, than paying rent because my payment is much, much less. But I can tell you there was a point in my life where I was newly married to my first wife. And there was this point where you were making a decent amount of money. It wasn't a tremendous amount of money, but I'll tell you how much it was. We had 2 little kids. We were able to pay for their stuff. We were able to pay for, we decided to put them in a private school at the time. So we were doing that. We were paying for daycare. And when we did not have an extravagant life, but we bought groceries when we wanted to go out to eat, we got Chinese food or, whatever it happened to be that we wanted to do. It wasn't a lot, but we did it. And sometimes a bill would come in and I'd get say a full tank of oil or I need to get a car repaired. And I look at that bill and say, man, that sucks. That's a lot of money. And then I'd pay the bill because I had the money to do that. Not like I had tons of money in the bank, but I had just enough of a cushion that things like that weren't disasters. Today, there's times when it's depending on what month it is. Is it a three check month or not? Or did I have to pay this particular tax that comes up or this particular, yearly expense that I think to myself, gee, can I go out to lunch today for $20? Probably not. Or my daughter just said, well, the cats, they're sick of this dry food. We got to get some more wet cat food. It's like, well, I got to wait till Thursday till I get paid. Because buying $15 worth of cat food means I can't buy pellets for the pellet stove. Not cool. So just enough money to get myself back in a position like that where I can, pay my bills, have a bit of a cushion, things that come up aren't a disaster, and I can, follow some passions and enjoy life. That's the kind of money I'm talking about. How much is that? We'll have to sit down and figure it out, but it's not what I'm making right now. But I don't want to be a sellout and do something that I really, really hate. Is it too late for me? Is it too late for you? Let's discuss this. Have a good one, kids.